Waiting for the One Grace Podcast. Imagery Part 2. Titled, Today, a Step in God and Jesus' Shoes. Have you ever had to say goodbye to someone you love? I ask it again. Have you ever had to say goodbye to someone you loved, yet it was too soon? I am guaranteed you have had to say goodbye to someone you loved. And that very well could have been a family member, friend, relationship, a pet. Everyone has had to say goodbye to someone they love. It's a guaranteed. What is not guaranteed is that you didn't have to say goodbye to someone you loved that was scourged, spat on, nails driven through their hands, hung on the cross for hours, starving, and your loved one didn't have the pressure of doing the right thing to save the world's people. Nor was your loved one an only child that could only save the world. Knowing how hard it was for you to say goodbye to your loved one, can you imagine having to sacrifice them on the cross, nails driven in their hands, to save the rest of the world's people in the human race? And hanging on that cross for hours in so much pain. I want you to put yourself in God's shoes for a moment. Having to sacrifice his only beloved child. And his only child was the one that could save the human race, that were all sinners because Adam brought sin into the world. Now I want you to put yourself in Jesus' position as the child, knowing that the right decision to save the world's people, you were the only one that could do it. Because you were pure and sinless, you were the only human in spirit. But you knew you needed to do this to fulfill the old covenant plan completely, so that it would be nullified. And then you were able to accomplish unsealing the new covenant plan that God had to save the human race of people, us sinners. Still, you being in Jesus' shoes, you trusted the people that you were around, teaching and healing and providing signs. You believed if you did the right thing, people would acknowledge it and appreciate it. But what they did was they actually rejected you. And I'm sure Jesus felt abandoned by his Father and abandoned by the people he wanted to save. Now I want you to go back and put your loved one in that position. In all the situations and trials that Jesus had to go through, put your loved one in that position. Having to go through the stress of knowing that you're the only person that can save the world, the sinners of the world, so that you can put the new covenant into place. God was your Father. And Jesus, I understand why Jesus was under so much stress, that the blood came out of his pores. He was tearing down his face with blood. He had so much stress and so much pressure on him. He knew he had to do this. He was hoping that God would find a different way. But unfortunately, it was the only answer. And I'm guaranteed that you have not had stress, that you are to the point of blood coming down in your tears or in sweating in your pores with blood. But Jesus did. And like I said, as your loved one was in that position, that we had put your loved one in that position, I want you to remove your loved one. And I want you to think how you would feel if that was your loved one that had to go through all of what I just explained. How would you feel? Would you acknowledge them? And now that we had taken out your loved one out, and you put Jesus back in that same position, how would you feel? Would you actually acknowledge it now? I ask it again. How would you feel? How do you think you and your loved one would have felt wasting your whole life to save the sinners of the world, which you were sinless and pure, because if you were Jesus, you were sinless and pure, so your loved one was sinless and pure. Sacrificing their life for all the people, and in turn everybody rejecting you. Rejecting what you did and rejecting you. And like I said, if it was yourself or your loved one in that position, they would have been rejecting yourself or rejecting what you did. Truly, I think they would feel this word, BETRAYED, betrayed. And I am sure this is the correct word here. So if your loved one felt betrayed, or yourself if was in the position of that, you would feel betrayed. So I think the exact word that Jesus is feeling was betrayed as well. Yes, I agree that Jesus had the choice to sacrifice his life and love for God's sinful people. Because he was looking ahead, hoping that we would reach salvation and want that eternal life. So knowing all of that, since you put yourself in God's shoes, Jesus' shoes, in your loved one's shoes, yourself. So I ask you, why shouldn't you believe? Would you not be out of your mind not to believe? And is there really anything to lose to believe? For you don't want to be a footstool as an enemy of Jesus for not believing. And why not get a better life for yourself eternally? Maybe your life here on earth is not the greatest. Well, you can have a guaranteed eternal life. So really ask yourself, is it worth, those friends that don't believe in you and are trying to veer you from believing? Or your leaders that are trying to push you to believe a certain example or religion, when I told you that all religions are man-made. The one religion is Jesus. And it specifically says in the Bible, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can go to the Father except through me. Point made, me is not me, the narrator. Me is Jesus speaking. So like I said before, it's guaranteed our physical body is going to die. Our physical body will not last forever. So why not give your spiritual body a better life for eternity? And for those who have closed your eyes, you can open them.